There Harley stood. Lighter in his right hand, jerry can of gasoline in his left. Fully loaded Glock 22 safely holstered on his hip. Flashlight in his left pocket, 2 live flashbangs in his right. Battering ram strapped to his back. Kevlar vest, Kevlar helmet. There Kent sat, detonator in his left hand, Peppa Pig full story collection in his right. An army knife in his right pocket. Riot shield on its side leaning against his lounge chair. Kent wasn't scared, he'd set up his house as an impenetrable fortress. And Harley intended to enter. Are you sure this is how you want to do things? It's not too late to just hand me the book, and let me return it. Kent looked up from his novel, but didn't respond. All right then, have it your way. Kent had a monitor to his left, displaying the view of 4 security cameras, one in the front, the one with Harley on it. The one in the back, one showing the left side, and one on the right. Kent saw on the front camera, Harley, pulling out his battering ram. Just out of the view he stepped. Kent heard a loud bang at the front door. Seconds later the front camera shook. Kent wasn't stupid, he expected brute force, therefore he compensated. He reinforced the front door with 2 inches of cement. Kent took a sip of scotch, and a drag from his cigar. Kent was wallowing in his intelligence. But what he didn't expect was getting outsmarted. Harley knew his enemy, he knew he would plan for him. Harley made minor adjustments to his battering ram. A pointy end. The pointy end was more than enough to get through the door, and it only took 23 hits to fully destroy the cement wall. While Kent certainly did not expect this outcome, he thought to himself, no matter, what am I if not adaptable? He reached for the detonator, and with a lack of hesitation, he pulled the trigger. Meanwhile, downstairs 5 pounds of C4 placed under the floorboards exploded, creating a massive hole 65 feet deep hole. Kent had surely bested Harley. Kent took yet another sip of scotch, and yet another drag of his cigar. Meanwhile Harley is rappelling to the second-floor bathroom window. Harley thought Kent thinking he would enter through the front door was an insult to his intelligence. Harley arrives at the objective window, and pulls out his battering ram, and with all his strength, hits the window as hard as he can. Harley expected to have to hit it another 10 to 20 times, but no, it broke on the first hit. What an idiot, Harley thought to himself as he swung in. Only to be greeted by a nasty, viscous, bear trap. Kent left that window open on purpose. Kent's bear trap placement was off by inches. Kent was shocked. How could he have known? Suddenly, he hears a clunking sound. The noise pattern indicated human. Kent was starting to get worried, but only a little. He knew that panicking resolves nothing. He took solace in the 8 inches of cement brick lining the interior walls of his room. 2.23 times the strength of regular cement, 4 times as much. Harley was just trying to find the room. Hopefully the speaker playing footsteps at maximum volume will keep the enemy scared. Harley was kicking down doors, and attempted to provoke Kent into giving away his location, to no avail. But finally he found the door. He saw the cement oozing through the bottom of the door. He mustered up all his strength, all his rage, his lust, everything he had in him. He channeled it into this one hit. While he was charging at the door, he pictured how heartbreaking the thought of Peppa, sweet, sweet Peppa, under the rule of a tyrannical sociopath, such as Kent. He pictured Kent laughing maniacally, as he's running away with Peppa's pure, innocent mind. He pictured her crying as Kent burned her with cigars. And finally, Harley made contact with the wall. Made it 5 inches at least. Harvey was grinning. Kent was scared, really scared, until he heard Harley cursing at the battering ram. Something was wrong with Harvey's ram. Harvey was pulling as hard as he could, but it was stuck. Harvey's only chance at retrieving the Peppa Pig story collection was jammed in a wall. But he had an ace in the hole. Kent began to calm down. He heard Harley go downstairs, presumably to give up. Kent threw the glass he'd been drinking from and grabbed the bottle. It was time to celebrate. Kent downed the entire bottle in a minute. He had never felt so satisfied. He won, not with luck or someone else fighting for you. Just pure intellect. Harvey scurried downstairs to the kitchen and took a 2-cup glass and placed it on the cutting board. Then he grabbed his Glock and emptied it onto the board and seized a knife and proceeded to empty every last bullet in the glass. He took it upstairs to the door and placed it on the bottom left side, created a trail of gasoline from the glass to the other room. He pulls out his lighter. This was his final chance to take what is his. He lights the trail. He hides behind a corner and plugs his ears. What he hears shocks him. He was imagining a bang or a boom or any sort of explosion, but no. He hears more of a faint burning sound. He waits for it to finish. The burn went on for minutes. When the burn finally finished, Harvey looked around the corner to see a hole, a small hole. At first he was devastated. That hole was way too small for him to fit through without him noticing. Nevertheless, he inspected the hole. It might be big enough to fit through. He had to try, for a life without Peppa Pig is but a shell of a life. He pulled out a flash bang and yanked the pin. Kent was drunk. He had the whole pint of scotch. He was sitting there when out of the blue he heard a clicking sound. He was too intoxicated to identify it. Besides, it was probably no bang. Kent was blinded, he couldn't hear for his life. As he begins to see and hear again, he sees a tall, muscular figure standing in front of him. Harvey had the book, but he wanted revenge. He pulled out the jerry can and began pouring it everywhere. As he crawled through the hole again, he shouted, "The pigs send their regards." Then he tossed the sparked lighter through the hole. Harvey got to return his library book. Unfortunately, he was charged with first-degree murder, destruction of property, and disturbing the peace, totaling the death sentence.